What's up, guys? It is Ricci here, bringing you season 2, episode 11 of the F1 podcast. We are filming this on Monday, June 13th, which is officially one day after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I'm here with my lovely host, Andrew and Erica, and we have a lot to unpack on an uneventful race this weekend. Psych, it was not uneventful, which we saw Red Bull go 1-2 for another time this season and capitalize on Ferrari's misfortunes. So without further ado, before we get started, just make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us on our social media channels. We are on Instagram, we are on YouTube, we are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And also I stream F1 content on my Twitch at xricci. So guys, how's it going? How you guys been?
Are you okay?
There's a yellow flag in sector 1. Carlos Sainz looks like he stopped at turn 4.
It is Carlos Sainz who stopped at turn 4, and there is Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari, was running in 4th place, and he's gone on, sadly, into the runoff area at turn 4. Now, has he kept the engine running? Oh no, and now we have a blowout coming down the straight, and that is Charles Leclerc, whose teammate is out of the race, and Leclerc has an engine failure that is showering plumes of smoke onto the track, and Ferrari have a double DNF here in Baku, and it is game over for the Scuderia.
Problem, engine.
We'll come back to you.
No, absolutely not. I think this is the first official team DNF since 2020 Italian Grand Prix, where both drivers went out at the same time.
You lose.
Just a rough weekend for Ferrari overall there, eh?
Ferrari, anything general after the race, I think I dropped any drivers that were associated with a Ferrari engine on my fantasy team, and I was like, do not trust it. It's not going good. This is the 4th time Charles Leclerc was pole position and still could not get out a win. So 4th straight. Carlos did not look like it was going well.
You had a brake line failure. That was a big reason why, or that was his technical issue as to why he couldn't finish the race, or why he went out on lap 9.
According to this, he had hydraulics issues.
Ugh.
So
just to think about it, what was it? A few rounds ago, Ferrari were 80 points up in the Constructors against Red Bull, and is the complete opposite now. It is I think Red Bull is like at least 80 points up on Ferrari in the Constructors now, because they just seem to be getting 1-2 finishes every weekend, or podium, double podium positions, and then Ferrari just seem to be lagging behind big time.
It's so surprising because we had those reliability issues with a few cars in the first couple of races, and I think for the most part we all assumed that had been sorted out. Like Red Bull hasn't had those same kind of issues, and to see the 6th, 7th, 8th race now, we're still seeing those reliability issues from Ferrari, where everyone else seems to have figured out the powertrain for the most part, is kind of surprising, I think, especially considering that we had a couple 2-week gaps between races.
It was weird though, because like Ferrari didn't have those issues at the beginning, so I don't know if it's just a lack of judgment, or just a kind of like resting on your morals, I guess, in Maranello, and trying to figure out, they figure the engine's fine. What can they say otherwise, right? But now they're gonna have to focus their cost cap to really be able to fix the reliability of their engine now, instead of focusing on improving the in-car in other places.
And they're gonna have other teams to respond to, right? So we had what was it? Magnussen with his engine kind of just cutting out on him, and the other driver, was it Zhou?
Yeah, Zhou had a technical issue with this engine too.
So just keep in mind. So I think out of the 5 cars that went out this week, 4 of them had Ferrari engines.
Oof.
So that doesn't really sell well, and especially we have Montreal coming up, which we are very excited to be going. But going into the summer break, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Ferrari team. There is. It'll be interesting to see how they respond. This is the first time. I think this will be the first time in 2 years a lot of drivers are coming back to Montreal, and some new drivers don't know how to. Apparently, this is considered a street race, which do we really consider
Yeah. It's in a
circuit.
proper park, but it's a very narrow circuit with barriers around the outside, kind of like Jeddah.
Yeah. Some other key takeaways I thought this weekend was, Pierre Gasly having a absolute performance with 5th place. I want to note that, double points from McLaren. That's really good morale, even though there was some fighting on team strategies there. Poor Yuki. Clearly duct tape did not solve everything.
That was awesome.
I've never seen people rip tape more furiously and fast in my entire life.
But I've never seen a DRS wing just absolutely split down the middle like that.
No.
It was very weird. And then they go and they try and fix it with the duct tape, and the FIA stewards are just screaming down the pit lane to say, you can't do that.
But like, what do you expect them to do mid-race, right? Like, unless you're going to retire the car or something like that, because the rear wing's not something you can just pop off and replace like the front wing of a car. It's what are you going to do?
That'd be kind of cool if they could.
If they could, yeah.
Isn't it kind of funny? Is it 2 races in a row that there's been DRS issues? At first was Max Verstappen's button that was not opening. And then now like the wing of Yuki's car just completely just go off track.
I think it's because it's new design in the car, right? That they got to get used to. So maybe some form of the reworking of the hydraulics issue into the new design of the car is probably one for Max. Or I don't know, that one maybe just like he had some debris that hit the back wing and it just completely like split it in half.
I'm curious.
Really tough to explain that one.
The only other thing I can think of is like if we're looking at the rear wing and it's got that slight curve in toward the middle of it, whereas before it was straight, maybe just like you said, it takes so much less for like a tiny impact of something, or, maybe from a past race, there was a little bit too much pressure put on it in that regard. So it's because it's curved, it's easier for it to snap.
Well, we're also seeing that a lot with like the new cars anyways, with when people have big shunts, it's like the car just kind of falls apart for safety purposes and tries to absorb all the shock. And in that case, I wonder if that had to be incorporated within the rear wing as well. But again, first year of new cars, so I think they'll be able to fix those issues as you go down the line, or as you go down the road, so that they don't happen again.
Yeah.
So are there anything in the regulations that talk about duct tape though? Like, do they think they're going to have to add something in now?
Oh, they probably will.
I can just imagine fans just bringing like duct tape to at the race next week, and it's like, hey, you guys need some? We'll throw some on the track.
Too bad that won't fix Stroll or Latifi's driving skills.
Oh, jeez.
Lose.
We'll get into that, but we want to give some kudos to Sebastian Vettel. A very good weekend with him,
Clawing himself across the line into P6.
And can we just take in? He tried to pass Ocon, and then he literally almost crashed the car, and then did a 180 spin like no tomorrow. Yet Lando took 5 times to do backward. It literally looked like he was doing his driver's test all over again.
I think that's really impressive. The fact that he even spun out and had to take to the back road and still finish 6th. Like, I wonder if he could have finished in 4th, if he was able to pass Ocon. It was funny in the case that I think he was disappointed for 6th because he knew there was more there, which is great to see from him, right? His competitive spirit's back, and it's welcoming for Aston Martin. And traditionally, I think this was the first time he's fell out. He hasn't finished in the top 5 in Baku.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
Which is, 6th place, and he could have finished higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for some reason he has a stroke of luck when he's at Baku. He's done some phenomenal races, and I'm pretty sure last year his only podium that was not a DNF, because he lost one last year, was at Baku.
Yeah, because he had the other podium, but there was the gas tank thing,
which was BS, but nevertheless,
that was at Hungary, correct? Anything else stood out from this weekend? I go ahead, Erica.
Off the top, qualifying was pretty entertaining to watch. We had the last bit of Q1 feeling a little bit more like a sprint race, with a ton of people trying to get over the line before the clock ran out for a final flying lap. It was pretty surprising though, because we saw some people struggling that we're not used to seeing struggle. Like Alfa Romeo has been pretty consistently and easily into Q2. And even Q3 in a couple of occasions, especially for Bottas. And he, 15th, just narrowly missed elimination there. And then there was nothing coming out of that car in Q2. We had some interesting driving from Lance Stroll, wherein he pulled that SpongeBob meme of the tapping the barrier and then wanna see me do it again.
You want to see me do it again?
And then just completely ran into a barrier after, even though his team told him it was fine and he didn't need to pit. But it just, it was interesting to see the strategy. I think we had so many backups and so much traffic from a lot of these people that in order for, the drivers to really pull out a good lap, it was, I think, a little bit more work on their part, especially seeing as not a lot of the teams were really following like a slipstream kind of strategy to give one of their drivers a bit more of an edge. But pretty entertaining to watch.
Yeah, and Fernando's back to his old tricks, during the I think during Q1 there with holding up kind of the line again before going off the track, and Albon going completely off the rails on the team radio saying that it was on purpose and he should be penalized for that. And it's Fernando's little fun strategy going on, I guess, there. But I wonder if FIA take another look at this and make further regulations, because that's all they seem to do is something happens in the race and then they react to it, provide a regulation and go forward from it with there. But I'm not too sure in that case. If you are an Aston Martin fan right now, you are like, this weekend was good and really bad. Like, really happy that Vettel was able to kind of break out of a slump there and, still perform well in Baku with the car. But man, Lance Stroll is just holding this team back, like just beyond like some capabilities. Like, for the fact that, you crash into the wall during your kind of your out lap. Okay. So you flat spotted the tires too. And you choose not to go back to the pit to reach, like, to get fresh tires for the qualifying lap. And then, about 45 seconds later, you spin your front wing into the wall and you're finished starting P19 when you really didn't have a shot. So I don't understand team strategy there. Maybe it was a timing issue, but still, like, get a quick pit going and just, they practice pit strategy all the time. Why don't you just throw in a couple new tires, couple seconds, and go back out in the window?
I think he had time too. There was still like 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock, which is more than I guess pitting during qualifying is slightly different. So maybe they were concerned about getting the tires on and back out. Or
maybe not enough gas, but still the fact remains that it's just like, it was a flat spot. It would become an issue. And if he did it again, if obviously he's going to you're more likely to flat spot on the same tire in the same spot you did last time anyway. So just, I don't know. It's frustrating because you want the team to succeed, and you can tell Vettel's getting dejected. And the reason why he came was for this team to grow, and
exactly.
This team hasn't been growing.
So, but like, I think one of the things is going to be interesting to see, because I think there is a lot of pressure on the Canadian drivers. I know, Nicholas Latifi, there's some rumors going on that he's not going to be returning next year. And, it's like, also Canadian Grand Prix this weekend. And if there's anything, it's not as easy as it is when you come back to your home turf. And this is the first time that Montreal is going to be hosting the Grand Prix after a 2-year hiatus. I think it's expected 300,000 people are going to be descendant onto Montreal this weekend, including myself and Erica. Also, to the pod, it is still possible to get Andrew to Montreal. It's always possible. So hashtag get Andrew to Montreal. We'll take any accommodations, whatever. Is that right? No?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. All right. So that was actually from a question from Spencer, is, want about how is Stroll's performance looking going into his home race? I think we've already touched a little bit about that. Thank you. I was just want to give a shout out to all the fans. I got flooded emails and messages this week. Before we get into the fan questions, it is Ricci here, and I just want to just jump in and say thank you for everybody who was able to send in a question. I won't lie, I did get some of your questions mixed up, where some people said something and another person said something. So there are some errors in the questions of who asked it, but like, kudos to all my fans and the people from my fantasy team for submitting some questions. But anyways, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we're going to get right into it. week is a very short week as we're kind of gearing up for the Canadian Grand Prix. But I hope you guys like this week's episode. Anyways, enough about me talking. Let's get back into the episode.
Love it.
From request.
Love it.
I think they all just wanted to see what my reaction was when Ferrari double DNF. But you know what?
What sickos, our fans? They want to see you in pain. They want to celebrate your joys. I want to see you in pain there, Johnny.
You
You know
lose.
what? We have not had an F1 championship win since 2007. Still waiting. Anyways, so I'll start off with this one. We kind of did talk about this earlier about McLaren's success, and there was a little bit of a controversy on the track this weekend between some of the strategies, and they were able to pull out points, which was good for them, I think, for morale. But one question came from, I think it was Brett in Toronto, and he said, "Does Daniel Ricciardo deserve a seat next year? Yes or no?"
Whew. Okay. Listen. Actually, if anyone else has thoughts and wants to go first, I need a second to compose myself.
Am I the only one who thought that he was quicker than Lando this weekend?
Well, they
It
were
was-
fighting on the radio.
Yeah,
between
it was so
engineers.
hard.
Because he kind of gave up his opportunity to pass him for team strategy in the first stint. And then in the second stint, it kind of like repaid the favor, but he wasn't wanting to. And it was kind of funny because of how close he crossed the line to Ricciardo in the final lap. He got right up his ass. It is kind of a way to say, hey, I could have overtaken him. But, you got to, repay your teammate. And that's the beauty of the sport, right? Individual sport, practice in teams.
Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of interesting that, when Danny making a sacrifice in stint 1 to allow Lando to kind of go back out or to try to overcut, I think it was Alonso or Ocon in the first stint. And then at the end, I think the medium tire this week had a lot of degradation compared to the hard. The hard was the better tire, I think, overall. But that degradation he couldn't catch up to him. And I think they were just on opposing strategies in that case. So that's why Lando was kind of faster at the end there.
I guess I want to add is I feel like this is the first race where actually people were able to use the hard tire properly.
Yeah.
We've seen this earlier in the season where a lot of teams did struggle with just trying to warm up the hard tire. And obviously a hard tire is meant to last longer compared to a soft or medium. But it looked like for the most part, people who were on the hards this week they didn't really struggle.
I think it was a few different things. I mean, one, this circuit, like right when you get on the track, there's so many hard 90-degree turns that it's going to force a little more energy into those tires, I think. And second, it was 45 degrees down on the track, which is not like the coolest of temperatures that we get. So it's probably also easier to get some temperature into the tires that way. Was surprised that a few people had the hard, because was Daniel Ricciardo the only person to start on the hard tire? Or did we have anyone else?
Oh, I think there was one other driver. I forget who, but yeah, he started on the hard. They kind of did like opposing strategies to start, even though they're on the same row, they just did opposing strategies. And I think it was a case of the hard tire being better than the medium as to why Daniel had more pace at the beginning. But I think he kind of gained his confidence back a little bit this week in a points finish. I think in the post-race show, Lando was, he even said, he goes like, if I wanted to be I forget what he said, it's kind of like a bit of a run, he would have gone and overtaken him, but team orders states otherwise. I don't know, I think they kind of gave a little bit of team orders to give Danny his confidence back, even if it's like at the end of the day it's 8th and 9th place. It's nothing crazy in terms of a points finish, but nevertheless it's points on the board no matter how you look at it. But I think just to gain confidence back, it was to have Danny finish ahead of Lando.
Yeah. And whether, I don't know if I would say that this is enough for me to be like, oh yeah, Daniel definitely deserves to keep his seat on the team. Like, yeah, it was nice that he had a solid points finish this week, but he's been so inconsistent and he's not able to pull pace out of the car on a lot of tracks the way Lando can.
Yeah.
And, even like you said, like Lando got right up on him at the end there. And I was having Red Bull flashbacks from a few years ago for a brief moment.
Gosh. Yeah.
But I I don't know. I don't know that in my mind he's been strong enough to earn a contract renewal. I think at this point, McLaren's probably happy to keep him in his seat through the end of this, but
Well, let's see I think it'd be good to see how he builds off of this, right? Points finish here. We're going to Canada where he won his first race ever in Montreal.
I think Lewis Hamilton also won his first race at Canada.
I believe so.
Was it Canada or was it Hungary?
I thought it was Canada.
I
I feel like I looked it up one time because I was like, has anything notable happened at Villeneuve?
Yeah, first win, 2007.
Okay, so it was Hungary. Okay, so it was Canada. Okay, perfect. So I think it was Danny Rick's first one here, Lewis's first one here too. But just let's see how he does in the next few races, right? We have the back-to-back this week. We have a 2-week break, and then we kind of go into Silverstone and another back-to-back there with regards to that in Austria. So let's see if he can keep momentum building. I know it's one race, but let's see how he does in Canada and see how this car goes in terms of it being consistent up in the midfield there.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how things are happening. I think personally on my own, if I had to weigh in, does he deserve a contract next year? I personally don't think so. Just basically how things have been moving. And just how he's done this season, I don't think it's deserving. There's much younger drivers that deserve that seat right now than him at the age of 32. Yes, exactly. So speaking about other drivers, so this question actually, it came from Spencer in Toronto. Could we see Leclerc on another team at the end of his Ferrari contract? And I think the reason why we kind of talk about this is there is always a curse at Ferrari. It looks like, a lot of drivers have gone there to try to do the Michael Schumacher dynasty, and a lot have flared out. Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, Felipe Massa. Unfortunately, the list can go on and on. But I'm curious to see if there is a team that is willing to would take someone like Charles on.
Any team would be willing to take Charles on. Let's be real here.
He's such a good driver. See him go to a McLaren though? Like, could he go to their opponent rival? Well, historically, what has always been against McLaren. So
to me, that'd be like if Max went to Mercedes,
which would just be. I mean, we did have Vettel go from Red Bull to Ferrari.
That's fair.
So it wouldn't be completely. And didn't Alonso go? Well, he was Ferrari to McLaren, which is what you're saying.
Yes.
But
and that didn't work out very well.
I think,
yeah. He literally lost 4 years of his racing career when he.
But he had some of the best radio sound bites ever.
So it wouldn't be unfathomable. Well, also I don't think Red Bull's looking exactly to snap up Leclerc at any point in time. I think they're very content with the talent that they've got both signed and coming down the road. But I don't think I would count it out, because he signed such a long contract that if he's not getting the results that we know he should, because he's a very great driver, that's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, if you get 4 straight, unfortunately, 4 straight pole positions and you can't muster out a win, you can't just put all your eggs in one basket on Saturday. You win you got to get points on Sunday. And actually sometimes, starting P1 is probably not always the best, because usually P2's got the better positioning. And we've kind of seen that been happening.
Russia.
Yeah. So this one's actually more of a technical question. This came from Mitch. He is the one that is overseeing my Formula One league that I'm 25th out of 50, or even I think it's 28 out of 50. So thank you, Mitch. So obviously we talked about a little bit of controversy with the red flag that happened during quali. Should there be a minimum amount of time put back on the clock if a qualifying session is red flagged, an automatic cancellation if less than a certain amount of time is left? See, because obviously when we had that red flag, there was issues and people were kind of really wanting to go out right away. And there was accusations of slowing down. This is obviously going to have to be something that's going to have to be probably addressed in not so much in the summer, but maybe for the next year. Or even a bigger question is is this a change that you're willing to want to happen in the regulations next year if most of the drivers agreed, or drivers / the teams agreed to this?
Off the top of my head, I think it depends on when the red flag happens in the session, because if it's like on an out lap or a first flying lap and we've still got like 10 minutes left in a session, I don't like, people are going to have time to get an out lap and a flying lap or two in before, time runs out. I don't totally know how I feel about adding more time, because I think that potentially might, cause some arguments among the team, like, oh, well, this guy was getting his tires changed and might not have had time for another out and flying lap, or we decided not to go out on another one, but now you're giving other people a chance to improve their time. So I think there would have to be a lot of conversation, I think, with the team principals and the drivers to see how they feel about that, because I think for some people they think it would be giving an unfair advantage to some people if time was added to the clock versus if they just kind of accepted it as is. I'm sure some people would like it, because sometimes you are either in the middle of your flying lap or you're just about to start it when the session gets red flagged, and then you can't improve your time, which obviously sucks. But so much of quali is that team strategy and managing that time, that I think it might just ruffle some feathers if a change like that were made.
I don't think you can add more time, because as you mentioned, Erica, it would be unfair to some teams who, make that decision not to go back out for a run, because they were able to do able to strategize their Q1 session or Q2 or Q3 session accordingly. Yeah. I think it's maybe a matter of a conversation, because it takes a little while for these tires to warm up. Maybe putting that red flag, I guess, threshold back a bit. So instead of it being at like a 2-minute mark, it's maybe a 2.5-minute mark, or 3-minute mark, so that after that 3-minute mark, if there is a red flag, the session's just over and no one else can take advantage of it. And it's kind of like you snooze, you lose sort of idea. Unfortunately, that's part of your strategy there, because it's just then in that event, it gives teams more time to warm up their tires and go for an out lap. Or I guess in a way, get to the front of the queue. Like if if there's a red flag that happens and they're going to be back out, be ready to go back out and be at that front of the queue sort of idea. And maybe there becomes then penalties, because they did try to implement like the delta time as a kind of a way to alleviate that issue for people going slow. And unfortunately, that didn't really work out this weekend in Q1. But yeah, I don't think you can add more time. I think it's more of a case of, do you push that red flag threshold back a minute or so?
Also, one thing to add that not a lot of people know, and I think it's in the current regulation or just recently in Formula One, is refueling. I'm pretty sure the regulation does not even, refueling is not even allowed anymore. I think they have to set the amount of gas they have. So in the early years of Formula One, like you're able to refuel when you come in for your pit stop, but then it became so if we add time to the clock and cars are still running and stuff, like that just keeps eating it up. That was actually kind of a mix between another controversial opinion is one. Rita actually sent this message saying, my regulation change would be banning tire changes under red flag conditions.
I'm not totally opposed to that.
Because we've definitely seen some teams take advantage of that. And Mercedes, I remember Mercedes getting mad at saying why some teams were going to do that.
Well, and that's how Max got the championship last year, wasn't it? Or was it just a yellow flag when Latifi?
It was just yellow flag there.
Was it just yellow? Okay.
It was yellow flag, but I think he got into the box. Yeah, it's still, people are still mad about it.
Even that was sus. Like, I'm still fired up. Not that I really care who won one way or the other. Neither Lewis or Max are my favorite driver, but I don't know. That changing tires under a red flag. Like if you're
that was in Saudi
just come
Arabia,
into the
wasn't
pit.
it? That was in Austria. That was in Jeddah, right? When Lewis went in because it was a safety car, and then they full on blown a red after he went in, which allowed them to change the tires. So yeah, I can see. Yeah, I can see why. I think it's a good regulation to not be able to change under a red flag, because it kind of gives everybody a restart.
Yeah.
And you get lucky, you really get unlucky in that case.
I generally think that is a fair proposal for my friend Reed. We've just seen too much controversy when it comes to under red flags, and That's
Even Lando's been very outspoken about not allowing cars to change under or not tires under red flag. So it is.
Yeah. It's something that the drivers have appetite for sure.
Mhm.
My only consideration, and I'd be curious to know, and not that Pirelli's going to give us any data because Pirelli's whatever, but if there is like an extended red flag session, think about, I don't know, Spa's not a great example because they rarely got to race before we got the red flag, but what happens then if you've had like a hot tire and say you're on like a hard compound tire, you've been out there for like 25 laps on it, and then you're sitting for like 20 to 40 minutes during a red flag, and then you have to start again? Like, is there any potential safety concerns? Like, what's going to happen to the tire now that you're going out and you're trying to warm it up and use it again? Like, is there any risk? Because if there's no risk and like everything's fine, we don't need to worry about it. Yeah, whatever. But like, I'm not an expert on tires.
It's a good thing. You actually bring that up. I'll just end off it here. Baku last year, Lewis Hamilton, there was smoke literally coming out of his tires. I'm pretty sure that was more of his brakes, but that is a good example of like, because they had to red flag the session, and then don't know if people were allowed to switch tires, but like literally I remember he came to the starting grid and there's smoke literally coming out of his car.
Yeah, even before the lights went out.
Yes. So I just wanted to know, there's some other fan questions that we got here, and we promise we'll get to all of them. We have to end the episode early today, so we got about 4 more minutes before we have to call this one. Spencer did ask us, what are the missing pieces that are possibly causing Ferrari's reliability issues? Spencer, we will get back to that. Maybe we'll
Engineering talent. No, I'm just joking.
You know what I responded to him? I said, I did message Spencer. I said Red Bull engine question. But I think Marinella would not like my response to that. Anyways, so we actually, this is really exciting because I think we're going to be going to our first ever Formula One race this weekend.
Yes.
So I think we do have some planned social media activity that we are going to be doing on our F1 Instagram. So make sure to follow us on @f1.podcast. So I think Erica and I, we're going to be posting a lot of material on there, and we really hoping to meet some new fans, and obviously going to try to sell our podcast. Let's try to get 100 fans on Instagram this weekend. Can we do that?
Where are we at?
I think it's 70 something right now.
Oh, damn. Okay. Oh,
74.
Me, I swore.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Hey, you both went to business school. Use your networking skills.
I don't know if you knew this about me, but every time there was a networking event, I'd show up for a glass of wine, eat as much free food as I could, and proceed to talk to no one other than the people I already knew. So,
well, do those two things and then talk to people.
You guys, speaking about school, I just got a notification that I graduated from university 5 years ago today. Thank you, Snapchat. I think.
And for me, it was 5 years ago Thursday.
Yeah, it was 4 years ago Wednesday for me.
It's moral of the story.
Dog.
Moral of the story, I could not ask for a better podcast in this team, and because in a great school. Shout out Laurier. But all seriousness, yeah, make sure to follow us on Instagram for this weekend. We're gonna be posting a lot of things. I don't know, Erica, maybe we just do a live stream on the track on Sunday. We're walking, and maybe just go crazy about like whatever our thoughts on. We'll do a live thing on Instagram or YouTube. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Just prepare yourselves.
There might be some beverages, and depending on who is on the podium, we'll see. But
a
on
little
that
beveragino.
note, Andrew, yeah, exactly. Andrew, your thoughts going into Montreal really quickly?
Just want to say thankful that Lewis will be actually racing this weekend. There was reports that Toto, because he can't figure out his damn car, was going to say that he was going to sit out, race for his back issues, and that made me really pissed off because as a fan, as people knowing of fans and just fans in general who spent a lot of money going to this weekend to see that one of the best drivers in the world won't be going there because you can't figure out your shit is really annoying. But I'm really happy to hear that Lewis did confirm he's going to be able to race, and that's why he's one of the greatest of all times.
And
also,
could it be
+1? Sorry,
go ahead.
+1 to Christian Horner for the intense shade being thrown at Mercedes for their comments about porpoising. That's all I want to say.
And could it be Lewis Hamilton's last race in Canada?
No.
Okay, no. We will all talk about that in next week's episode. But on that note, it is Ricci here with my two amazing co-hosts, Erica and Andrew. And thank you guys for listening to this week's episode where we cover the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. You know what? I'm not even going to finish it. Andrew, you know what to do.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. As Jonathan said, I can confirm that Eric and Jonathan will be there next weekend, unlike Toto confirming that they have a car that won't be porpoising. But nevertheless, don't forget to subscribe, like our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Like our posts on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to Ricci's YouTube channel, and feel free to say hi to them next weekend if you're going to Montreal. They will be there, and they have the two biggest smiles that I know of people, so it'll be very easy to find them in Montreal this week. So again, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and let's go Canada.